Hey guys, it's Will.
And Chris.
We're here to talk today about beliefs.
Yeah, that's a pretty heady topic, Will.
It is a big topic.
Yeah. How would you care to start with that one?
I would say beliefs is probably the most important thing we're going to do. I mean, that's how big it is. But it's also one of those topics that most people don't think they really need to spend a lot of time with. So it's kind of ironic that it needs to be the most, but most people think it needs to be the least.
Right, and I think it's timely where we're going to put this in the program because we probably need to address that pretty much off the bat, don't you think?
Yeah, if we're going to make strides in making change, and it doesn't really matter why somebody has enrolled in the program at this point, as far as, you know, if they want to work on their career, they want to work on their health and fitness, they want to work on relationships, or they want to work on a combination of a lot of things. There are all different reasons why people come to us. Mm-hmm. But the underlying thing that brings them all to the same place is they want change. And to construct that change, we've got to first start with their belief system.
Okay.
And so that's the foundation. There's actually something that I've used for years, which I really like. It starts with attitudes, and attitudes are habits of thought. Mm-hmm. So attitudes are really what comes out of your own belief systems. Attitudes impact your behavior.
Sure.
Your behavior impacts your results. So if you want a different result, if you want to change, you got to go back to your attitudes, and you got to go back to your belief system that is supporting those attitudes. So we've got to start at the very beginning if we want to make that change long term.
Sure. Well, let's back up a little bit and let's talk about the two different aspects of basically the beliefs that we have. The one aspect is the parts of beliefs that tend to hold us back. Okay. And the other aspect is the parts of beliefs that tend to propel us forward.
Absolutely.
What are some typical ones that you feel hold us back?
There are lots of what we would call limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are those things that hold you back. They would be sometimes a belief that I can't do it all, which may morph into I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people hold themselves back because they don't think they deserve more. They've had some level of success, but they don't believe they deserve kind of the best. And so that's one thing that we see that holds people back.
Gotcha. What's an example of something that would propel us forward?
When you see people who have really been successful, mm-hmm. often they have a belief system that anything is possible. Mm-hmm. You know, that nothing's going to hold them back, that they're going to do whatever they have to do to make it. And if you look at great people in history, mm-hmm. They often are those people that said, you know what, it doesn't matter what these obstacles are, I'm going to figure out a way to get around them.
And that's the habit they form around that belief, correct?
Absolutely. So we really...
Which is a good segue into our next section.
It is? What's our next section?
Habits.
Oh, okay. Well, our habits, you know, depending on the type of things we're doing during the course of the day, our habits can make up to 85 to 88% of our daily activities are based on habits. Think about it. When you get up in the morning, you probably have a routine of what you go through.
Absolutely.
You get up, you get your coffee, you go for a walk, you let out the dogs, you walk the dogs, you know, you get in the shower. And when you're in the shower, you actually, you know, go through your own process.
He goes through a very different process than I do in the shower.
Probably. But I'm squeaky clean when I come out.
But we both get clean.
That's right. And regardless, but I mean, I do. I grab the soap a certain way, and I kind of go around my body a certain way, and I shampoo my hair, and I rinse it a certain way, and I don't have to stop and think, what do I want to wash next? I've got a habit, which actually makes our life much more efficient because we can be on autopilot, and you know, we don't have to sit there and stop at every decision point and say, okay, what's dirty next, or what do I have to do next?
Sure.
We're going. So habits are great when they work for us and make us more efficient, but sometimes habits, we default into habits that maybe aren't the best habits for us. Mm-hmm. And because we create a pattern around that, we continue to do it and often don't even know that there's a better or different way to do it. And so we're stuck in a way that maybe isn't as effective. It may be efficient, but it may not be as effective as it should be.
Well, that makes sense. Does it also make sense then if we want to replace a habit that we don't like, do we have to replace it with a new habit that we do like?
Absolutely. We can't take out a habit and leave a void there. Something else is going to fill its place. So we want to look at ways that we can replace our less than effective habits with more effective habits.
Can you give me an example?
I could, if I could think of on the fly.
Do you want me to give you an example?
Why don't you do that?
Sure. So a good example of a bad habit would be running out of time throughout your day.
Right.
And
feeling overwhelmed and that you don't have enough time to get it all done.
Right. For example, we'll use a business analogy. So you have sales calls to make throughout the day.
Right.
And those are usually not a priority item. I don't know about the people in the audience.
It's usually a priority for the boss, but not the salesperson.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not exactly a highlight of your day. However, if you block a piece of time, say I'll pick a time between 9 and 10 o'clock each day, you're going to make your sales calls, or maybe every other day. But that is a new habit that you're going to get into. You're going to stop whatever it is you're doing. You're not going to put any meetings around it, but you're going to make sure at 9 o'clock you start to do your dials. And at 10 o'clock, you can go, they're all done, thankfully, now get on to the stuff I really wanted to do.
Right.
And now it's not to say that if you don't make your dials, they're not important. They are very important. But we tend to find other things to get in our way. Either meeting pops up or email pops up or...
We tend to default to our comfort zone.
Exactly.
And if we're pushing through to create a new habit and it's not in our comfort zone, then we often will sabotage ourselves.
Sure.
We will come up with all sorts of excuses and rationalizations of why we didn't make those calls. You know, I had to respond to emails, I got a customer call. I mean, the reality is I can block that hour of time just like I would protect it with an appointment with a client.
Sure.
But I don't if I don't feel comfortable or haven't built that habit in.
Sure. And the same thing can apply to, say, a new lifestyle you're trying to embrace. So becoming more active. Maybe you need to block 30 minutes of time to walk in the morning just because you want to do that. It doesn't have to be every day.
Right, and you wake up and it's cold outside or rainy and you want to hit the snooze button and it's not a habit yet. And so it gets put to the side because today's not a really good day or I've got a sore throat. I mean, we always rationalize why we can't do something with excuses.
The dogs don't want to go.
Yeah, there's always something. And so we've got to look at, a habit is actually creating the discipline and doing something consistently and having it default to that's the way I do things.
So what are some strategies to make things habitual?
Part of it is the focus of making myself do it before it actually becomes a habit. And they say that habits can take as much as 21 to 30 days of consistently doing it on a day-to-day basis. So I can't expect that if I'm going to start walking more or exercising or whatever it might be, that the first couple times out of the gate that it's a new habit.
Right. Same thing applies for Olympic caliber athletes. To get into a new habit or new movement pattern, it takes roughly 10,000 repetitions for it to become unconscious.
Yeah, and that's what we're really building on. There's actually a process that people go through to actually change a habit.
Right, and that's when I'm speaking of unconscious, that means you're not thinking about it anymore. It's just autopilot.
Yeah, we call that the unconscious competent stage, right?
Where we use big words again.
That's right. Where it just happens naturally, just like you get up in the morning and you go through your routine. It just happens because that's the way you do things.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, what can they do to reinforce those habits? I think you had a concept called affirmations that we might be getting into later, right?
Yeah, actually, one of the exercises they'll get is all about affirmations, and affirmations is a way to tie into your own subconscious. And look at ways that you can give yourself positive self-talk. It's basically a way to motivate yourself and inspire yourself to stay on target along the way.
Right. And we're going to get into that in another video because it's really interesting. It really helps fortify those new habits.
And we'll have a lot of great discussion on the call about beliefs that we'll get into a little bit more as well.
Right. Well, we hope this was helpful. And we didn't have our normal banter. I was really upset about that.
Yeah,
we didn't go back and forth as
maybe
much.
Next time.
Maybe next time.
Okay.
Well, listen to all of you on the call coming up.
Great. Thanks guys.
Bye.